Hello there. Welcome to the first day of classes. I mean, it might not be your first day of classes, but if it were your first day of classes, I have some suggestions for you because figuring out how to prioritize online classes can be tough. Like right now, things are probably very overwhelming if what you're doing is looking at 4 or 5 different online sites with different things happening and all of that stuff. So let me give you what I'm going to call my 3 easy steps to figuring out what you have to do at least week 1. And then we'll continue onward as we go. All right. So let's talk about these classes that you've probably got. Step 1 to my 3 easy step process is figure out what you have to do for the week. Now, this is a good day 1 item. Every class is going to be a little different in figuring out what you have to do for the week, but that's really, really the key. So what do I need to do this week? We aren't even going to look ahead yet. We're going to start with this week. So each class, take a little bit of time and break down what you have to do this week. That means go to the class, pull up the site, whatever you're on, go on Blackboard, look at the syllabus, find the things that are dated. Every instructor probably does this a little differently. Many of us include it in our syllabus, so if you've got a chance, take that syllabus, do that, find the dates, find the items for this week. If you are in my class, so my biology class, there's not too much happening this week. One of those things, honestly, is read the syllabus. So here, we'll start with biology. And my items in biology are read the syllabus. That's probably going to take me some reasonable amount of time because honestly, there's a lot of stuff in these syllabi and so I'm going to want to write some of them down. So I probably want to put 30 minutes on that. You'll notice I'm going to put minutes on these and that's important. I'm going to read the first chapter because that's one of the things that I suggest that people do. And it's not a super long chapter. I'm going to put 30 minutes on that one. For biology, you also want to introduce yourself. It's one of the things I'm telling people to do. Now, this one is very easy, so it's probably only like 15 minutes. That's on the discussion board. Then the next thing you're going to want to do is start defining terms. Now, these aren't due right away, but you're going to want to start to do them. So let's say define terms. This week, I probably want to put in some amount of time to getting that done. And so let's say 60 minutes is going to be into defining terms. Also, there's an online quiz that you would need to take that goes along with the terms. Let's say 30 minutes for that. I think for this week, those are actually the only immediate things for my biology lecture class. Now for biology lab, there's going to be a couple more things. So let me put lab in and say that, let's say for lab again, we're going to want to read the syllabus. It might be mine, it might be someone else's. This one is probably a little shorter, so I'm going to make it 15 minutes. Then I want to read the lab. And that means over everything that you're going to do. And then I want to put a little bit of time into the lab. So lab work in some manner or another, whatever it takes. 60 minutes, that should cover the amount of work that I want to accomplish for the lab. And let's say lab test, because it's not really a test, but there's a little bit of something extra. So those are the things that you have to do for my class this week. I might not be your only class, in which case you might have other things. Let's pretend for a moment that you have an English class, and the English class has a couple of the same things. Read the syllabus. You're going to want to separate these, like actually know which ones are which. Read chapter 1, right? There might be a read chapter 1. And in English, that might take a little longer. I don't know. I read fast, but not everybody does. This thing doesn't like me. So now I'm still looking at that English stuff with my read, and I'll fix that in a moment. Let's say read chapter 1, I think will take 60 minutes, as I said, and then maybe online reflection, and that'll take 30 minutes. That might be something I would have to do for an English class. I don't really know. Let's say I'm also taking a math class. Guess what I have to do first? Read the syllabus. And this goes on pretty much like this. So in math, I might have to watch videos, and that'll take me 30 minutes. Or attend Zoom session, and that'll take me 60 minutes. And then work on problems. Maybe that'll take me 60 minutes. But you're starting to get the idea. These are the things I have to do this week. All right. So step 1 was find out everything you have to do this week and have a list. This is essentially a to-do list, but right now it's not in any kind of order. So the next thing you need to do is figure out which items go with which dates. When do things have to happen, and in what approximate order? So obviously all the read the syllabuses pretty much come first, then probably the read the chapters, and then the do the problems in order. But you'll know what the dates are for each of your things, and then you can add dates to some of them. So my defined terms is due Friday. Due Friday. So I know I have to do that. Same with the quiz, due Friday. Now, some of these other things aren't due by the end of this week, but they are things I should be working on. So these might go slightly ahead of, for example, some of my lab work or some of my math work. But for English, maybe I have to have this chapter 1 read by Thursday to be able to do work. So then I have to know. All right, so what am I going to do with this list now? What I'm going to do with this list is I'm going to reprioritize it in order. So if it took me, and it probably wouldn't take that long, maybe about 15 to 20 minutes to go through each of your classes and make a list. Then you're talking about, if you have 4 or 5 classes, an hour to an hour and a half to make this list. Then another half hour to reprioritize it in order. Now, if you did it in text, you can copy paste. If you did it handwritten, because there are still, people love to handwrite lists, then you would handwrite it, but in order and with the dated items. So now if I get rid of these things and we start thinking about how we might reorder that list, I might say Tuesday, and anything that absolutely would have to be done by the end of the day, Tuesday would go there. There might be nothing because of the way Tuesday works. Maybe I'll start it with Wednesday and figure out the things I absolutely would like to get done by Wednesday, or the order in which I would like to do them. So Tuesday is probably our read the syllabus day. So tomorrow, read all syllabi. If you have time, you could jump to the next thing, but let's not worry too much about it. Wednesday, so now if we go back to our original list, what are the things we might have to do? We might need to watch math videos. We might need to read biology chapter, introduce on discussion boards. We might want to read some of the English chapter. You don't necessarily need to do it all at once, but you should have a pretty set list of the items that are next in line. Then you would have the things that are due by Thursday in some manner. So at this point, the English reading probably needs to be done. You need to have your reflection. You would want to work on your biology definitions. You'd want to read the biology lab. That gives you some place to go. And then what haven't I included yet? You might want to work on some math problems. And then we keep going and we say, well, now Friday, what are we going to do? So anything that's not yet on the list goes on here. And so maybe we take our biology quiz by Friday and we finish our math problems, and things like that. Now, this isn't your dead set list for everything. This was just step 2, which is put things in order and give them approximate days. And it's approximate, but I would do something like, for example, star something that is definitely due by that day, so you know to get ahead of it. Prioritizing is important. If you don't know what to do next, you won't get anything done. And then finally, I said this is a 3-step process. What is the third thing that you do? Now that you have a list, you go to your calendar and you start blocking time. So if you don't have specified times for classes, or at least for class work, you don't get things done. For this is where I would kind of recommend figuring out what kind of a worker you are and how much time you think you can spend on things. But you don't have to specify exactly what you're spending time on as long as you have a time block. So if you are the kind of person who can work very well for about an hour and then you need a break, block an hour and say, this is schoolwork, and then start at the top of your prioritized list that we just made and spend time on things. I wouldn't spend more than half an hour on something unless you are moving through it. At that point, switch to a different thing. It doesn't mean take a break yet, but it means switch to a different thing. You could do this in 60-minute blocks where you'd get like 2 to 3 things done, 90-minute blocks where you'd get maybe 3 to 5 things done. And if you are real good at working, you could create a 2-hour, 120-minute block where you just did items off that list, and then go take a break. And when you take that break between blocks, get up, go walk somewhere, grab a bite to eat or a beverage, do something. So as a reminder, 3 steps. Step 1, sit down, figure out everything that is due for the week, or at least before you're going to sit down next. So if you don't think you're going to do this again until next Monday, everything due through Monday. Next, prioritize that list so the items that are due first are on the top and all the way down. Third, create blocks of school work time in your calendar and don't let anybody mess with them. Get out of the way, go somewhere else, say, put on your headphones, boom. And those blocks can be 60, 90, or 120 minutes. And when you're in that block, your whole job is prioritize list item, 20, 30 minutes, next prioritize list item, next prioritize list item. And if you don't get one of them done in that first shot of time, add it to the list again underneath something as long as you're staying ahead of its deadline. So you might not do all that English reading in one shot, but if you can do 20 minutes of it in every time block, you will get to it. So that is my figuring out your classes, figuring out your priorities, and working on it method. Don't get too far ahead of yourself yet. It's only the first week. If you can get through the first week and be on top of things, you'll be good. I promise. All right. Hope that helps.